Welcome to an episode of Recapping with Cam. I don't know if you can hear that scratching in the background. That's my cat, little buddy, cleaning up after herself. If you're a dog person rather than a cat person, I would just present that single fact as my argument. I live in Perth. At the moment, don't have friends in Perth, but had a couple of friends from Melbourne whose parents live here visit. So they've been here for a little while now. They're just for their holidays, and it felt good to know people. Hung out with them, went to the pub, and one of them was telling me about his dating life and how interesting it's been post-quarantine in Melbourne. And I found it almost inspirational, actually. He was describing his current living situation because he had mostly moved out of his house. So I've definitely been in that situation where most of the furniture's gone, the bed frames are gone. You're basically just down to a mattress and you're ordering food most of the time. All your pots and pans are packed away. He said that was his situation, but he decided to jump on Hinge. If that was my situation and I was on Hinge, I don't know if I'd be as honest as he was. Apparently, he told the girl on Hinge, "Hey, everything's packed up, but I've got a bottle of wine," and she came running over, and I was like, "Well, wasn't like the TV and the stereo and like everything packed up? He was like, "Yeah, except for my clothes, like all my clothes were strewn all over the floor in my room." And I was like, "So what was the date?" And he was like, "Well, I had a weighted blanket and there was still a plant or two around. So I just said to her, 'Have you ever tried a weighted blanket?' And she was like, 'Nah.' So we went under the weighted blanket like it was a tent, and we sang karaoke to the plants." That I've never been on a date like that. I had a look at what was going on in my neighborhood before these Melbourne friends came to hang out with me. And I saw that there was a pinball tournament on in a fish and chip shop called the Kiwi Fish and Chip Shop. I'm 50% Kiwi, and I haven't played a lot of pinball, but I just decided to check if they'd be okay with me going along and hanging out and maybe learning a little bit of pinball. Aaron, this is your pinball tournament. How are you finding it so far?
It's been good. We've come from down south, which is like Rockingham way, and we usually set up around the United Cinemas this year, and we go down to King's Carnival and we throw a couple of competitions up north the river, which is today's at the Kiwi Fish and Chip Shop, and we've got 3 machines here. One machine down, but we'll soldier on and enjoy the time.
Which machine is broken at the moment?
Yeah, the Lethal Weapon, which is some people's favourites and some people's most hated. So, but it's a good game. It's fun. Judge Dredd behind us right now is quite fun.
What theme is that one? Judge Dredd.
Judge Dredd. Yeah, that's got magnets in there pulling up, and got spinners in there and things like that. It's quite entertaining.
What's your skill level when it comes to pinball? How long have you been playing?
This is my 4th year, and a festival which was held in Northbridge a couple of weeks ago. The first time we had one in WA of that size. I did reasonably well. I came 6th place.
Out of?
About 32.
Oh, well done.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, sure. And then Dan playing behind me, he got 4th position. And it was a big tournament, man. It was a long time. It was a long game. You know, we went in there Friday night and went all Friday night and into Saturday, and then the grand final was the Sunday. And it was a big event, man. It's huge. Really, really big.
So what age were you? Can you remember the age you were when you first saw a pinball machine and were like, oh, I've got to play that?
Yeah, I do remember the Kiss from way back. From there, it's sort of really, I've been really busy underneath cars, rebuilding and street machines and things. And then I sort of slowed down on that a little bit and then went back into the pinballs. I've got a Apollo 13 at home, which I've been rebuilding. That's finally got working after 12 months or so. It's always been a learning curve. Yeah.
And if we go over to this Dracula pinball machine, something I've always wondered is, so a lot of pinball machines are themed to big movies, that's correct?
Sure, there are.
Is the this area, what's this area called, like the playground?
Well, you got your play field, you got your flippers, and you got some stoppers up there. You got a couple of ramps, which are always interesting. You got a coffin in this one. It's a strong theme. I think it's off the Bram Stoker's. But the Mary Shelley, I think she did the Frankenstein.
Yep. I think she wrote Frankenstein.
Yeah, wrote Frankenstein, and they based another pinball machine off that book, which is interesting. On this one here, you got a special feature where the ball slowly goes across the playfield, and you got to hit it with the other ball to gain a multi-ball.
You have to hit one ball with the other. That sounds impossible.
Yeah, no, it's we make it possible.
Have you done that?
Oh yeah, plenty of times there. Yeah, sure. Yeah, and there's a new one, a new machine, the Munsters, based on the old black and white Munsters TV series.
Yep, I've heard of it.
Herman, you put the ball in Herman's over his magnet, and then when they launch another ball, your opportunity to hit that ball that's been stuck there with a magnet, you hit that ball, it will release that ball and you into a multi-ball.
Every time I've seen a pinball machine, I didn't know that there could be such complex movements or maneuvers to do.
Yeah, there's a lot more than that out there. There's some old fancy engineering in like, what's the other one used to be? Theatre, what's it called? Theatre of Magic. Yeah, Theatre of Magic. It holds the ball in space and
like it makes a ball hover off the...
Yeah, it holds the ball in like its own little cage thing, and then in its own little world there, and then Lord of the Rings, when you bring it up the centre and it holds in the middle of the ring.
So people put a lot of work into making it match what the movie is that it's about.
There is a lot of movie theme based, and the boys have done a really well job in bringing it to a playfield and for others to enjoy that. Yeah.
Do they ever, because you mentioned one, I think you said Kiss, so they do like metal bands, they do movies, Lethal Weapon, Judge Dredd. I guess that Judge Dredd looks like more like the comic, but do they ever do like TV series, like Gossip Girl, or like do they ever make it after a TV show?
I haven't seen a Lost or anything like that. No, they are very strongly themed, like Jurassic Park. There's 1,000 of these things. There's like hundreds, heaps of more, but whether you like to play them or not, something else.
How do you find the specific ones? Like if I typed in the Project pinball machine after that TV show, would I be able to find one, or is it kind of you can get somebody to build you one after a TV show that you enjoy?
Well, lately Guns N' Roses have Slash from Guns N' Roses walked into Jersey Jackson, asked for a new Guns N' Roses machine, and they've got one previously, so they've asked for a new one, and it is supposed to be a very state-of-the-art machine.
So that guy got it custom made for himself.
Custom made for him, and then they've made for the population as well. So there's a group of those machines being made available in different qualities. So you've got a really basic model, a medium model, and a high-end model. I haven't played them there. They haven't come out of the States yet, so we're all waiting for it.
That's exciting. Oh, Scott, I'll get you to come around this side. If you stand here, could I get you to give me a little bit of a tour of the Lethal Weapon one? I know it's not working, but what's inside the Lethal Weapon one?
I haven't played it too often, but it's really based on that TV movie, like with Mel Gibson. Very strongly based. Probably not something I'd know a whole heap about. You've really picked me up on a machine that you don't see them that much. They're really, really commonly made, but
I think I know the general premise of Lethal Weapon is Mel Gibson is a cop. He has to partner up with Danny Glover. I assume because it's number 3 that it's probably got a lower budget than the first one. I think the first Lethal Weapon is probably the big one, and then this one is probably like, you know how sometimes the third one in the trilogy isn't quite as big budget. So maybe they get themselves into some kind of trouble, misunderstanding.
Yeah, I just don't know enough about to go any further with it. You know, it's just it's like we come in today and we have to have a game. That's why we do what we do. That's why Perth Pinball goes from venue to venue. We're playing new games, like there's a Flintstones up the road there, and we just haven't got to it yet, and we're 4 years in. We do have the United Cinemas and King's Carnival. King's Carnival is a great place to catch up with some machines. There's also the Palace Arcade we go to in Vic Park in Northbridge. We do a Northbridge crawl every year, which starts off from like...
I think I accidentally bumped that.
Yeah, we do a Northbridge crawl, which goes from like the Mustang Bar or the Patriots Bar, and we go around the different venues up there. That's a great night out to the craft beer in Northbridge. They've got like 4 machines up there, which are fantastic condition. Yeah, that's always a good night out.
And then the final one that we haven't discussed, are you happy to talk me through the Judge Dredd machine?
Yeah, what do I know about this?
So it looks like there's some warning, misdemeanor, felony. It looks like Judge Dredd is choosing what to arrest you with, like what you're in trouble for.
I'd agree with that. What on the card there it says you knock down your judge, and then you go through there, and you start into multi-balls, as well as you have the opportunity to pick out your warrant for them, and then you go chase them around. I was in a pursuit not long ago.
So you're basically, as the metal ball, you're playing Judge Dredd. You're doing all these things on his behalf.
Yeah. It's a good game. I came in here last time. I had a really good time. Not every time you play the game comes up your way.
I think I assumed that these were your machines. Do you own these?
No, John from the Kiwi Fish and Chip Shop owns these ones. He bought them off the sellers themselves and at auctions and things like that. So he purchased these ones, and we come through once a year and have a game, and we bring our crew with us. So.
And then in terms of the tournament itself, this is your tournament. You've got the ladder over there on the laptop. Who's number one? And be honest with me, who's number one on the ladder?
Right, it's been tough. To be honest with you, I think when we wrap it up next 2 weeks from now, then we'll know what's happening. It's really, really close. We're in like 2 or 3 points from each other.
You're being humble with me.
It's political. It gets very political very quickly. So we're going to wait.
You're doing all right on the ladder, aren't you?
Yeah, we're all doing very well.
Danny, how long have you played pinball?
Oh look, I played a long time ago in the 80s, but really I've only just recently rediscovered the passion. My brother bought a couple of pinball machines and invited me down to his place. He needed a hand lifting them actually, and so tried them out and had a few games down there. A bit of No Fear and Doctor Who.
Is No Fear like the brand with the eyes?
No Fear was one of the games, Bailey Williams type game there. And really. He mentioned that he was doing a bit of a social thing with Aaron and the boys, and then invited me along. And it's been something that I've found that I've really enjoyed again. You know, as I say, the competition sides, that's just a side thing really. It's about getting together with a good bunch. I've actually found that the pinball community is a wonderful community, great bunch of people. And the best part is that there's some awesome players here in WA, and they're very generous with their knowledge. And so they're more than happy to share little tips and tricks on how to, get a decent score. And I've managed to apply a few of those. And in the festival, it was pure luck that I was able to sort of get through to that final round. Really, that was using a bit of that knowledge. In fact, one of the guys Aaron O'Brien, he showed me this trick shot, which got you a few million just on the plunge, and I bloody knocked him out in the tournament using it. But you know, it was all about.
What was the trick shot? Does it have a name?
I don't necessarily know what the trick shot was. Basically, you plunged it. You had to plunge it just right with enough pressure that the ball cleared the play field, went down the left out. You got a couple of millions just off that plunge, and because the ball save was still kicking off, you got your ball back and away you went.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Can you put spin on those little metal balls?
Yeah, you can. Look,
What's the trick there, or is it like kind of just with years of experience?
I've been watching a few of the boys. As I say, you watch and you learn, and it's not about hitting it head on. There's a subtlety to it, and so you can capture the ball, get it off on an angle and spin it off, and often the ricochet, it comes back. Pinball tosses up all sorts of random variables, and so sometimes things happen that you go, well, that's just unbelievable, really. And sometimes it falls on the good side, and sometimes it falls on the not so good side for you. But you know, you've got to roll with that. There's a saying that everyone goes with, it only takes one ball, and so it's almost a little life philosophy type thing. It doesn't matter how far behind you are, if you've still got one ball left, you can turn that into anything. So
That's all you need. Yeah, that's a good motto. And then, does it ever become an endurance game? Like, I know that my skill level's quite poor. My rounds are probably over within 30, 35 seconds. Yeah. But do you ever get into the zone so much that you're like, oh, the sun's coming up type thing?
Absolutely. There was one of the fellas a few weeks ago, Mados, he had a ball, and you get a multi-ball, and quite often when you get multi-balls, they all go out. But if you can just keep one of them alive, you can quite reignite the multi-ball and build up a few bonuses, and the score keeps ticking over and ticking over. So if you can just keep that one ball alive, it's amazing. Each table's got their own little synchronicities, little idiosyncrasies that you can unlock. But yeah, if you can keep that ball alive, and you just never know what it opens up as the game progresses.
I think the thing I would find quite challenging if I was playing in tournaments the way that you are is that there's so many designs on the actual platform. At first you don't even think about all the drawings of like Judge Dredd or Mel Gibson, and you start playing. Do you ever have moments where you just start looking and being like, oh, that's a really detailed picture of Mel Gibson?
Look, the moments to do that, I mean, some of these tables, the artwork on them is magnificent. Now, I don't know what it takes to actually put a pinball table together, but you just got to have a look at some of the artwork on some of these. They're museum pieces in their own right. The great thing about that festival was it showed pinballs across the generations.
What was the festival called?
West Coast Pinball Festival. Yeah. Right, yeah,
oh, you're wearing the shirt of it.
Oh,
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Can I get you to show the back?
I mean, have a look at the artwork on that. Really? I mean,
it's got modern and throwback. It's got Stranger Things on it.
Yeah. And that Stranger Things. I mean, I'm not big on the show. Often they connect your pinball machine up with a brand or a license thing just to get that audience going. But each game has its own sort of merits, and quite often, what's a good licensed thing that gets a lot of popularity may not necessarily be a good game. I'm a huge fan of AC/DC, but to be honest, the table itself I don't particularly rate.
Are all AC/DC pinball machines the same design on the inside?
I actually don't. I wouldn't really know the answer to that. I know that they did a run, and that there are different levels. Like there's a pro edition and a championship edition and a limited edition, and they all have, I guess, little additional items attached to them. But and look. For example, I think the championship edition, it has a lower playfield sunk into the middle, and I know.
Does that mean it's lower from the glass?
The actual flat playfield itself has a sunken little mini sort of pinball machine.
Like another pinball machine inside it.
Absolutely. Yeah, Munsters has one. There's a few of them that have that sort of feature as well. Or they have a top playing field. I've seen Aerosmith has a great little top playing field that you can get some bonus points on the championship edition, or But I think on the normal ones, it's fairly basic, and then as you can get the champion or the limited edition versions that have additional features. Yeah.
Aaron was just telling me about a manoeuvre that he's done in the past, or that I think you need to do on this machine, where there's one ball in play, and to get to the next step, you need to flick one of the balls into it. Have you ever done anything like that?
I did it earlier today. On this particular one, I think a magnet grabs the ball, and as the ball's sort of crawling along the playfield, you've got to hit it. That activates it. There's a few of them. Munsters does it as well. A few of them have a ball that's stationary, and you've got to hit that ball, and it activates it into a quick little multi-ball. Yeah.
I don't know if the comparison is right, but sometimes when I'm playing pool, if I do a move that looks really impressive, but I didn't plan it, I always pretend I did plan it. In pinball, are there moments where you'd do that? Where you'd look up and be like, exactly as I planned, boys?
Yeah. I love basketball, and it's a bit like that with basketball, and so quite often you get a shot in, and your insides are just bursting because you just pulled off something unbelievable. But it's all about looking around and going, that was it. Yeah, but it
just
was,
as I want.
And look, maybe somewhere in the back of your mind, that is what you're visualising. But when it comes off, it's pretty special,
Do you have any moments that come to mind on that topic where you're just like, wow, I just needed that extra 150 points and then I got 500? Like, have you had those special moments where you've pulled that off?
Not so much probably in the game, but generally because everyone you play, they're all top quality players, and quite often your ball drops and you might be 100,000 short or something on the last ball, but then it adds up the bonuses that you've done during the game, and you sit there. And so Alex and I had a game earlier, and I was just ahead, and his bonuses didn't quite get him there. And so, but quite often if you've done enough during the game, and the multipliers, because you can get multipliers for loops and all sorts of things. Yeah. Once the ball drops, you get those bonus points, and quite often that'll get you over the edge and win you the game.
Yeah, so you can win it off one of the ones that's just been sitting there.
You can win it. You can quite often you can win after you've lost, if that makes any sense.
I think so. Yeah, I've played it a handful of times, and I know that sometimes there's a ball that's like generating interest, and then it's like, oh, your bank account's empty, but that one, your savings account that you forgot about, it's going to save you.
A bit like that. You build up some bonus sort of points, and at the end it sort of pays out, and so it gets you over the edge for the win.
Yeah. Is there skills outside of pinball that you think pinball helps improve? I imagine that reflexes would be faster, or maybe texting or typing would become quite quick. Is there anything like that where playing pinball a lot, you feel like your skill level goes up in that area?
Sure, the reflexes and things like that, but what I've quite noticed, there's an element of mass to it in regards to quite often some shots are very difficult to hit straight off of the flipper. But if you can get a ricochet, it opens up a wider angle, and so, or that if you get it off the left and it hits it and it bounces out, because the angle's opened up, you've been trying to get it off the flipper, that makes it a very small angle of approach. But if you hit it off of a ricochet and you can work out your angles, quite often that's something that you can apply. A bit like
trigonometry.
If you play pool, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Quite often it's not the wreck shot; it's the one that you're getting off the back, and you're coming in from behind, and it with a touch of spin and all that sort of stuff to boot. And luck's got a lot to do with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so is there a ladder? There's a ladder for today's tournament. How far up that ladder are you, and how confident are you feeling?
I'm not so much aware of a ladder. For me, this is social pinball. The guys, we get together. Aaron does all the hard yards. He organises it all and puts it all together and takes on the pressure of doing that, because quite often when you need someone to put their hand up and do these sorts of things, and quite often when you do that, you do cop a lot of flack because everyone thinks they can do it better, or everyone's got plenty of advice after the fact, but no one's actually willing to sort of go ahead and organise it. So
It has been tough. It is, but it's a lot of fun when we get it right.
Bottom line is it's a lot of fun, and for me, this is one of those things that I get up and look. I've been looking forward to this all week, and this is a mental health thing for me. Really, I'm trying to fill my life full of things that I love to do.
I respect that.
Under here is a little purple band, and it's all about suicide being the silent killer, and men's health is it's a huge thing. I'm fortunate at the moment to be able to spend my time filling my days with things that I love to do, and so again, the pinball community in Perth is second to none. Quality people, you rock up, and as I say, I've got no idea what the ladder is. No idea what the score is, but I get to hang out with my brother. I get to hang out, with some guys that are genuinely enjoying playing pinball. The other week, as I say, remember when Mados went ballistic on Dialed In? So Dialed In's it's a Stern pinball machine. It's awesome. It's got cameras. It's one of the newer models.
So it sounds fancy.
Very fancy. But we were all in a competition. There were 4 tables there. 6 of us were out, but Mados was, as you said earlier, he was in the zone.
Yeah.
And we all literally just stood around in awe because he was pushing the boundaries of where the machine could go. He got grand champion. Yeah, he got grand champion on it. 2 billion. Knocked
2 billion points.
2 billion points. That's a grand effort. It really is.
No, it was knocked it out the ballpark. And once he'd finished, he turned around. We've all just gone, mate, dude, we're not worthy. It was. And the thing is that anyone can have a ball like that. You just never know when that's going to be your ball. And as I say, just like life, you cop a few knocks and things like that. But if you've got one ball left, you never know.
Yeah, mate.
And
you can really make it. Yeah,
it only takes one ball, mate.
Yeah, one ball. That's great. That really
I love that kind of ethos. That it's more. It sounds like from what you guys are saying, it's more about the community and doing something together rather than like chasing each other up the ladder.
No. And the great thing, as I say, there's some guys here with world records and things like that. But the beauty of it is they're willing to share their knowledge, look. Remember when we were down at King's Carnival, and you were showing me Munsters, and he was showing me just how to get a few scores on Munsters. So okay, let's go head to head.
Yeah.
And I'd never beat Aaron in competitions, but on that occasion, blew him out the water using exactly the shots and the skills and the things that he literally just shown me what to do.
Yeah, it is. It's good that you can roll up to a machine and actually have a good fun time with it, and a few tips and tricks can go a long way.
They've all got their own little secrets and little ways in which you can open up some big points.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I appreciate both of you guys taking the time to talk to me about it, and I fully support everything you're doing. It sounds like a lot of fun with a strong community element to it.
Alex, he's, and as I say, my brother got me into it. Alex actually did a lot of work behind the scenes at this festival. He organised the whole thing and ran around, and so there's a lot of quiet achievers, I guess you could say, behind the scenes that make those sorts of things happen for those of us that just enjoy playing pinball.
Yeah, I love that.
And it takes a crew to stay together to make things work and progress on to something more next year. And each tournament, you've got to build the momentum, and the camaraderie between the other players is a big part of that.
So you've got a big one coming up in 2 weeks' time. Are you going along to that as well?
Yeah, we've got the United Cinemas wrap up. They'll wrap up the whole series, and so we've got some giveaway prizes, some door prizes. We've got some. I went and picked up some new shiny balls for someone to receive on a door raffle or something like that. And we're going to wrap up with some trophies. We have some trophies, first, second, third. We'll find something else to give away as well. Always find something.
I think you'll find that there's a long history of pinball appreciation in WA. So when we were down at King's Carnival there's a big banner up there. I think they hold a state champs or something there in 2010 or 2000. And I talked to a few of when I was at the festival, I was lucky enough to go around and help, because they opened up to the public. You pay a certain amount, go in. As I say, they had pinballs from across the generations. And there was a few old fellas there, and they were in front of a table, and I went up to a few of them and I said, did you pick this machine just randomly, or is this evoking some sort of memory for you? And like, to a person, they were basically time travelling back to a memory, a place. There was one guy that used to play in the rec hall at UWA back in the 80s. Another fella, he transported to, Soho or the West End in London, where he used to put on shows, and he used to walk down and have a coffee with a mate, and they'd play these games. And so there's some, emotional attachment to these things, and the people that you play with, and the games themselves. You can walk past and maybe not. For example, the fishtails for me. There's a fishtails down at the Bent Fish and Chip down in Rockingham where I play. But when I play that game, I get transported back to the hippie club in the 80s, because there used to be a back room at the hippie club, and I used to always go and play a game of fishtails there. And it's like, as I say, it's little memory sort of.
What sort of hair were you rocking in that era?
Back there, I reckon back then there was a touch of a perm going on, maybe a few bits of blonde kicking in there. And luckily for me, there's no photo evidence of anything like that anymore, because none of this stuff was available. But yeah, awesome. That was probably the look back then.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
What I might do, if you guys are okay with it, is I might have a quick round on one of the machines and get you guys to like kind of coach me as I'm doing it. Like if I get you to like say stuff into the mic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, come on. Is it frustrating watching my skill level?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, you can stand by and appreciate any sort of, and any player can come up with a something that someone hasn't seen before.
Yeah, you're always looking for combinations on points.
Yeah, generally if you can get a bit of left-right action going on.
We're always looking where the points are.
So there you go.
That's the first time I've done that.
So that's great. So you've just locked the ball. If you can actually do that a couple of more times, you'll work your way towards a multi-ball.
So I can hit this again?
Yeah, so that ball's locked. You've got another ball. This is still considered ball 2 or ball 3, whatever it was. He hasn't taken up the challenge of getting it up the right side, because it's a tough shot. Working the ends of the flippers, quite often they're the shots that will get you the points, but they're the hardest to pull off.
And he's getting up towards that multi-ball up there.
Yeah. See if you can get it up that
so hold that there and just
get it up
for that flashing amber up there.
See that there? If you can get that, you'll get yourself a multi-ball, and quite often multi-balls are where the action is.
And to do it, do I let it roll to the tip and then
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes when you go along to a new niche, or like if you're trying out a new genre of music and you turn up and you're like, I feel a little daunted. Sometimes it can feel like a clicky environment to break into, but that was not the case at this pinball tournament. So I just want to say thanks again to Aaron and Danny for having me. It was a pleasure, and hopefully see you again soon. Whatever you're doing this week, whether you're being clicky or being welcoming, I wish you all the best. I wish you a little bit more of the best if you're being more welcoming and you're treating people nicely. Thank you for listening to another episode of Recapping with Cam. If there's a group that you'd like me to hang out with, or an event you'd like me to attend, send me a link. I'd happily go along, especially if you're as welcoming as Danny and Aaron.